Hi everyone, I'm Shaylin here with Reedsy. Today let's talk about the 7 types of story. So have you ever been talking about writing, maybe in a group of people, and then some annoying elitist swoops on in and is like, well, you know there are only 7 basic plot lines, right? So no one can write anything new or original anymore. I don't know why this seems to be a recurring problem in my life, or why I seem to encounter this exact same comment from this exact same person so many times, but it may be something that you've heard before. So let's talk about it. We're going to be covering this topic this week. In today's video, I'm going to be covering these 7 basic plot lines and what they are. And on Friday, we're going to be having a chat about whether or not this is actually true. Is it actually impossible to write something original nowadays, as so many people seem to claim? Now, there are many different ways that different people have tried to synthesize all existing stories into a certain number of categories. There's George Pulte's theory of the 36 dramatic situations. But today we're going to be looking at one of the most popular and most synthesized models. There are only 7, which is Christopher Booker's idea of the 7 basic plots. His idea is basically that all plots fall under one of these categories. So let's start with number 1, which is overcoming the monster. So this one is quite simple. You have a character who sets out to defeat an antagonistic force, usually an evil one, which is threatening themselves or their homeland. We could even see this in a contemporary book. The monster was something like addiction. It might not be as immediately recognizable as a story like Beowulf, which is clearly a overcoming the monster story, but it can still exist in a contemporary context without a literal monster. Other examples include Dracula, Star Wars, and James Bond. Number 2 is Rebirth. This is a story of renewal, where one event causes a character to change and become a better person. A really well-known example of this, one that may have come to mind, is A Christmas Carol. Other examples also include Beauty and the Beast, The Secret Garden, and Groundhog Day. Number 3 is Quest. Now in the quest, the character or group of characters set out to retrieve something of importance or get somewhere of importance, facing obstacles along the way. We often see it in big sagas like Lord of the Rings. Other examples include The Odyssey, Watership Down, and The Lightning Thief. Number 4 is Voyage and Return. Not too surprisingly, The Hobbit is a classic example, since the subtitle is literally there and back again. Voyage and Return is kind of exactly what it sounds like. A character ventures off to somewhere unfamiliar, and after facing obstacles, they return having changed and grown as a person. Other examples include Orpheus, Alice in Wonderland, The Wizard of Oz, and Gone with the Wind. Number 5 is Rags to Riches. This is where a character from humble beginnings acquires something of great importance. So this could be wealth, power, or something else of great importance to them. Even, for example, love could fall under a rags to riches story. After gaining it, the character then loses it, then gains it all back in the end. For example, Cinderella, Aladdin, Jane Eyre, and Great Expectations. Number 6 is the tragedy. This is a story where the protagonist's fundamental flaw or great mistake leads to their undoing. Basically, it's the fall of a fundamentally good character. For example, Macbeth, Bonnie and Clyde, Anna Karenina, and The Picture of Dorian Gray. And finally, on the flip side of tragedy, we have comedy. In this story, a lighter type of character gets a cheerful ending. The story focuses on a character triumphing over adverse circumstances, resulting in happiness and success at the end. Despite being called a comedy, the story isn't just about humor. Rather, this type of plot features a story where the conflict gets more and more confusing and then clarifies at the end. Comedy often being a natural result of this. Most contemporary romance films would be considered comedies based on this model. Examples include A Midsummer Night's Dream, Bridget Jones's Diary, and 4 Weddings and a Funeral. Now in the end, this is not a perfect theory, of course. While many stories fall under one of these categories, there's no reason to feel that every story needs to, or that every story most definitely does. These don't have to be inescapable constraints. Even though the theory was created to define every single story, I don't know if it's really possible to create a theory like this that encapsulates every single story. Do you know which category you think your book falls into? To be honest, I can't even really figure out which category my book falls into. I'm pretty sure that the one that's closest to would be a tragedy, but at the same time, it's not distinctly tragic in the end. And if one of the qualities of a tragedy is the fall of a fundamentally good character, I wouldn't go so far as to say my protagonist is fundamentally good. So I don't know if it's really a tragedy, but I think I'm gonna go with it being a tragedy if I have to pick one. Can you think of any book you've read that you don't think falls under any of these categories? I'm pretty sure there are many out there. And on Friday, we'll be talking about whether or not it's possible to write something original nowadays, since a lot of people seem to claim that it's not possible, and use theories like this as part of their argument. spoiler alert, I do think it's possible to write something original. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any new videos from us. We've got new writing, editing, and publishing tips every Tuesday and Friday. Until next time.